Hello friends, welcome. I'm so glad you're here today. I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are in the world. It's just a beautiful day here. And today I have a fun little scene card for us using the Slimline chicken coop. So let's go ahead and change the camera view and get started. All right, so here's our card today. And I don't know about where you live, but around here, there's been quite a few people coming down with just head colds. And, as the weather warms up, people are getting just some seasonal bugs. So this says feeling cooped up. And we've got our chicken in here that's just not having a great day, and you open it up and it says, I'm so sorry about that, feel better soon. So this card is just for somebody that's maybe feeling under the weather. And after COVID, we all tend to stay home when we have the sniffles. So I thought this would be a great card to make this time of year. So let's go ahead and take a look at the products. Quite a bit of products in this one. These are two of my favorite stamp sets. They're both so fun. We've got the What the Cluck and the Nugget. Butt Nuggets, which I don't know, just make me laugh. But there's just so many fun sayings in here. This little guy right here is particularly one of my favorites. I've used him several times. But there's just a lot of funny sayings in here, and I love this fence die. You can use this in all kinds of scenes. And this is the fence stamp, but right here it comes with the die that just cuts the top edge of it off, so you can use the bottom of the card and then have that top edge cut off where you can layer it up and make different layers. So this particular card, I don't do that, but that's something you can do with that set. So we're using both of those with their coordinating dies, and we're also using this one to make our sorry on the inside. This one is called Big Boo Boo, and it's just different kinds of, feel better sentiments. The star of the show is the Slimline Chicken Coop, and there's so many ways to use this one. And then, of course, one of my all-time favorites is the comic speech bubbles. Whenever I've got any of these little critters saying something, I like to use these speech bubbles. So let's go ahead and get started. So our card base is a 6x6, and if you wanted to go ahead and you can stamp the sorry about that, feel better soon on the inside, you can do that. And then I cut a separate piece of white paper in 6x6. I don't know if you noticed, but I didn't do that the first time, and you can see my coloring bled through, and I wouldn't want that on the inside of my card. I will eventually glue a white piece in here to cover that up, but for this card we're going to do it and avoid that in the first place. So we have a separate front panel that I've gone ahead and stamped on. So about, let's measure that. About 2 inches up or so is where I stamped my fence line, and I just went ahead and colored that in with some brown Copic marker and some green. Now, excuse me, you won't want to place this chicken until we have made our chicken coop so that you can figure out exactly where you want him to be. So let's go ahead and move that aside, and we're going to start with some die cuts. All right. Several of these pieces we're not quite ready for, so I'll set those aside. So when you get your Slimline chicken coop, there's several pieces inside. So this is what I have die cut. Let me grab the dies. So I cut this large piece out of some gray cardstock. These pieces over here, let me open mine up. I have put most of my pieces on a piece of magnet, but underneath is where I have the largest die, which is this one, and I just keep it tucked underneath my magnet. So that's how I keep it inside the packaging. So this large piece I have cut out several times, once in a real pretty red, And then I cut it out a second time in the craft cardstock, and that is because I wanted my little frame to be wooden, and I also wanted these little feet to be wooden. So I cut it out multiple times for that. And it looks like, whoops, I have forgot one piece. So let's see if I have any craft cardstock over here. This piece should have been cut out in wood as well a couple times, and it looks like I don't have that. So let me see here. Hopefully I have some craft cardstock over here handy. We'll see. If not, it'll take me just a second to grab some. It looks like I have some brown. So I have some brown here, so we're just going to use brown. It'll change the look just a little bit, but not much. And I'll just go ahead and we'll die cut that real quick. I told you my crafting philosophy is no problems, just solutions. So we will solve that lickety-split, no problem. So I have plenty of tape up here. We'll just run this through my die machine. And I'm going to do that twice because we're going to need a couple of these. Alright. Now the one section with all of the small pieces, I cut that apart from the bigger pieces, but I didn't cut them apart individually. So when I die cut these, I can die cut them all at once. And I almost always die cut those out of the same colors. So that does make it nice. Alright, so there's our one wooden piece, and we're going to need a second one of those, so we're just going to run that through a second time. We're going to be cutting that piece apart, so we won't need very many. Okay, there we go. That little wooden piece, this one right here, is really handy to have in your stash. It can be used in so many ways, you know, to use it as a signpost. You can use it to build a fence. You can use it to make a frame and firewood. Oh my goodness, just so many things I can think of to use this one piece. So this is a very handy one to have. All right, so now that we have all of our pieces die cut, you can see here, we're going to take our chicken coop and we're going to trim that in half. Okay. So just right here between, I'm kind of cutting that right in half. Okay. Alright, I'm going to put my glasses on for this next part. Now we're going to take our scissors and we're just going to trim off the little feet. Okay. I'm going to do that on both pieces. Ooh, look at that. I need to change my blade there. There we go. Alright, so all I've done here is trim off the feet. Now on this one, I'm going to trim off this foot as well, because you might notice it's a half foot, it's not a whole foot. So that is why I made this other one, because I want this to be a whole foot. So I'm just going to trim out that foot. And now we're going to attach a whole foot right here on this frame. And the way we're going to do that is just add a little bit of glue. And then this one comes in just a little bit, so we're going to glue this on pretty much the same place. Just in a little bit from the end. So now up here, this is okay because it's all going to be covered up. So you'll see how we're going to do this. Let me get rid of some of my trash pieces. We don't want to get confused with parts we don't need. So now we're just going to layer this up right here on top. Well, let me see. You know, before we put this piece on, we're going to put this, let me see. Is that the right way? Yeah. Okay. So before we do that, we're going to put this piece on. This is our screen. Our, what do you call that when you have a fence that looks like this? It's not barbed wire, it's chain link, a chain link fence, that's what it's called. We're going to put our little chain link grid for our chicken coops. This is the part that makes our chickens cooped up. We're just going to glue that down right here on top. All right, now we can add this piece. And I'm lining it up down here on this end that we didn't cut on, so that way it's going to fit. Well, if I can get it on there straight, it's going to fit. There we go. And then on the end down here, if we need to do any trimming, we'll be able to do that, because this was the end that was still exactly like the die cut, so they all line up perfectly. So down at this end where we trimmed, right here I have just a little piece of the brown. I'm going to go ahead and just trim that off because that's the underneath piece. And now it's all straight down here. Now, next thing we're going to do, this piece right here, I'm going to add it right here on top. But you can see it's way too long, right? So how are we going to get this to be right? I'm going to turn this over like this. And right down here, I'm going to take a pencil and I'm just going to trace that curve. And let's see if make sure I have it long enough. Yeah. All right. So now right there where I traced that, going to go ahead and just trim myself an end. There we go. Now when I did this with the lighter paper, I had to come back with some ink and kind of flick the ends of it and get my two ends to look exactly like. But in this dark paper, I'm not going to need to do that step. So now we're just going to add this right on top of our piece. And I like to pull it up so that there's just a little hint of red showing, but now we've got that wooden top to our chicken coop, just like that. Well, okay. All right, so there's the bottom of our chicken coop, and I do have this piece that will frame up and go right inside. So I'm trying to debate if I want to use that, and I think that I do, but before I go any further with it, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do a little bit of inking on this piece, because with that dark brown above it, I think I want this piece to look a little more brown. So I'm just going to do some inking on this one, just so it's a little closer in color. Doing the ink on it also shows the wood grain. You probably can't see that as much on camera, but when you do the inking, it helps bring out that wood grain even more, which I like. Okay. All right, there we go. So now this doesn't get glued to the red part. It sits right down inside on the back part. So I am going to put glue, but it will get glue on whatever your surface is underneath, because it's just going to attach to that chain link part underneath. Okay, set that right inside. There we go. All right, so the bottom portion of our coop is finished. Now when I get ready to attach this, I'm going to use foam all the way around the edge. I didn't make it a shaker, but you could. You could easily put a piece of acetate right over this and turn this into a shaker card. But I decided to just keep it as all one level, just with a little bit of foam. So now that we have the bottom portion of our coop all ready to go, we can kind of position it on our card. I have also die cut some of the chicken nests out of a yellow cardstock, and then I inked it with the same over coffee color. So in the past you've seen me kind of turn it into a nest by using my Copic markers, but this time all I did was die cut it out of a kind of a golden yellow color, and then I just ran my dauber back and forth over the edges and kind of splotched it around to give it that nest look. So there's always more than one way to do things. And these two nests are for my bottom chickens, and this one is going to go up here when we get ready to do it. So let's go ahead and position our chickens. So I have stamped two of the chickens from the butt nuggets and colored them up. And I'm going to go ahead and place them in the nest, in the little, nests. I guess that's what they're called. All right, and now before I glue them down, I'm going to make sure I have them positioned in a way that I can see them real well in there. Because I want to be able to see my fence, I want to be able to see all of that. Okay, hold on, I've lost my pen for my glue, and I don't want my glue, there it is. All right, now there's one more thing we need to do before we glue all this down. I'm going to use this BG000, and down here in my grass, I'm just going to flick up from my grass. Because I don't want that sky to be all white back there. So I'm also coloring in there around my fence, just real lightly. And now I'm going to flick up on this side. Okay, you can kind of see how I'm doing that? Just lightly flicked up. Now, over here around my chicken, I'm going to trace around him with the same color. And I know that you haven't stamped him yet, but when you do stamp him, you'll do this. All right. And I may just kind of flick out just a little bit around him. You'll see why here in just a moment. All right. Now, here it is. We're going to go ahead and set this in place, and we're going to take the top portion, open the door, find your side there where you're going to put your chicken. And like I said, yours is not stamped yet if you're doing this. So this is what I'm showing you right now, is how to do this, how to put this guy in here. So by having this, so you don't want to stick it down yet. We're not ready for that. But this is how you figure out where you want your chicken. Whoops. And you don't do that. Okay, so you've got this all in place. You're going to put the stamp down and then remove your pieces. Okay, so that is how you're going to find where you're going to put him. So once you have all that done, move that away, put it in your MISTI, and stamp your chicken in the Memento Black, and then go ahead and color him up and do the blue around it. So that's how you get your chicken in the right place. So you have to make all your dies before you stamp your chicken down. Another way of doing this would be to stamp him on another piece of paper, die cut him, and then you can just position him in there however you want. But I wanted to show you other ways of going about it. So let's go ahead and finish this one off. We're going to kind of do the same thing we did before. Okay, this one is going to go right here, but we're going to turn it over. We're going to trace this edge and cut ourselves a top. All right. Now we're just going to glue this right on top. So now that we have our roof here, in our little die cuts that we die cut out of black, we have some hinges, we have a pitchfork, and we're going to add those onto our door. We're going to use this pitchfork as well when we get to the end of our card. There we go. And on our pitchfork, or on our little hinges, I'm going to put them right here on the door. Just right like that. I didn't put the glue over far enough. Hold that down a second. I think this time I'm actually going to put the glue on the hinge instead. Probably makes more sense. There's also a little handle that you can die cut. It looks like that I didn't die cut that piece, so this one's not going to have a handle, but you just kind of position them equal distance from the top and bottom, but there's no right or wrong. Okay, so once you get those on there, I didn't score them. I just kind of used my fingernail to put a crease in there and then opened my door. And like I said, there is a die that cuts out this little handle, but it looks like I did not do it, and we're not going to do any more die cutting. So there we go. All right, so now that we have our chicken coop made, we're going to come in with a little bit of Distress Oxide. I'm going to go ahead and grab a piece of cardboard here and I'm using the salvaged patina, and believe it or not, the BG with 3 zeros on the Cooped blends pretty well with a very light coating of the salvaged patina. So we're just going to blend in some sky on our background here. All right, and I'm not going to do a perfect blend. I want it to have clouds and such like that, but it keeps it from being that stark white, and there will be no way to really tell where the sky starts and ends from that marker once we get our chicken coop all in place. Okay. All right, so there we go. We're going to glue down our chickens, making sure they can be seen through our coop. Excuse me, getting low again. There's so many fun ways to use these chickens in cards. The design team have so many funny samples. If you go to on the website and you go to really any product on Whimsy, you go to the website and click on the product, and it'll bring up all the inspiration that's been made for that particular product. It makes it so easy. You don't have to go to a gallery or anything like that. It's all right there with the product. Makes it very easy to scroll through and get some inspiration for anything you've purchased. So we're going to go ahead and add this section of the Coop. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my foam around this piece. And on this piece, it is going to stick above our the top of our card. So if you wanted to put this one in an envelope, you'd have to get a slightly bigger envelope than the 6-inch. Because our card base measures 6 by 6. But our top of our Coop sticks up, maybe a 1/4 inch. So it would need to have a custom envelope. Oops. Okay. Well, I've never had that happen before. What is going on here? This paper usually falls off. No, it's not one to come off. All right, so now I'm going to tuck the bottom of this into the top of the Coop. Open the door, make sure he's, well, I have never had that happen. Look at that, the foam is doing crazy things. Okay. Gonna add a little bit of glue there for that. Okay. All right, gonna just, before I go any further, I almost forgot a step. Lay that down. We forgot to do our little nest for this fella. He needs to have a nest. So I'm going to stick him right on to my Coop where I did the foam. All right. Stick that real well. Now I'm going to turn it over and we're going to trim off any pieces that stick out. Okay. Glad I remembered that. All right, so now we've got his chicken coop, and I'll just add some glue back there. That takes care of my foam problem. Okay. Now we'll tuck that down in there. And just like that. All right, push that foam down. I'm going to take this little pitchfork and set it, sorry, I've had trouble with my camera this week. First it's too far low, now it's too far high. Don't know what's going on, but there we go. Like that. We're going to add this pitchfork. Right there on the edge. And then we're going to take our speech bubble and I'm going to stamp the saying feeling cooped up, and that comes from our butt nuggets. And let's see, there it is. Oops. And I'm going to put this at a bit of an angle in here. It fits straight across, but I wanted it at just a bit of an angle because I'm actually going to put it so that this chicken down here is the one saying it. So he's going to be about right here is where I'm going to put the saying. This guy's kind of cooped up too, but this is the guy saying it. So I'm going to glue this to the two edges of the Coop. One right here and one down there. All right. There we go. And to finish this one off, I did use a sun, and I have to apologize. I did not realize that this particular set has sold out. It was in the last chance, so you can easily use any kind of circle die that you have and put a sun. You could even make some rays up there coming down, add some yellow with some things. So I apologize, this piece is no longer available, but things are selling out in that last chance quicker than I can keep up with it sometimes. So There we go. And now the only thing left to do is to add that to our card base, which I have right here somewhere. There we go. So here's our card base that we already stamped the sorry about that, feel better soon. And we're just going to add our front panel onto the card. There we go. All right, what a fun scene. Feeling cooped up? Sorry about that. Feel better soon. So what a nice sentiment. And this is pretty good masculine card as well. This one could definitely go either way. But so many of our cards have such a feminine vibe that it's always good to have a few that can go either way. All right, I'm going to go ahead and switch back to my camera. All right, thank you so much for joining me to create this little scene card. Any of the products you saw me use today, you can definitely use my affiliate links if you would like to. You can also help us out if you give this video a thumbs up, and any of your comments, we appreciate those so much. And I look forward to crafting with you again next week. Have a lovely week. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.